Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of Talking Paranormal with the Old Man. And as usual, I am the Old Man. Hope you're having a good weekend. Here in Michigan, we're starting to get a little bit warmer. It is winter. I mean, it is what it is. It's supposed to be 40s this week. I can finally take the car out and not get snow on her and crap. So, if you've seen the movie Zombieland, there's his not commandments, but his rules to live by. And one of them is the small things. Well, I've been looking for a laptop of mine that I could not find for a long time. It was an older laptop, but I was sure there was stuff on the hard drive that I could use or I would need or wanted or whatever. Well, I've officially taken over our son's old bedroom as my new office. It's set up. I got TV set up and a couple of desks and laptop, and a desktop and all that stuff. And when I was moving his cabinet, or I guess it's more of a shelf, I found my old laptop. And it's Adele, not Adele the singer, but Adele. And I don't know, the OG people, the older people would remember back in the what 90s, I guess it was, where that commercial, dude, I have Adele. Well, I had Adele, and I don't care for them anymore. Too much bloatware on them, and whatever. Um, but I found it, so I'm like, well, it's old as dirt. I mean, it's old. It's probably, oh God, 10, at least 10 years old, at least. So I'm like, okay, I could try to find the power cord, power it up, but there's gonna be so many friggin' updates on that damn thing. I think I don't think it even has Windows 10. It probably has Windows 7 or 8 or whatever came before 10. Maybe even me. I mean, it could be me version. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Hell with it. I'm gonna just tear it apart, take out the hard drive, and see what's on it. I have a SATA hard drive USB uh, connector. I had an HP that I accidentally put a knee into the corner and it messed up the hinge, so I couldn't use it too much. So I used that one. That has a lot of old investigations, old pictures, all that kind of stuff. So my hopes were high, and I had given it to our son back in the day, and I must have wiped it or I must have transferred him over because there wasn't anything on the damn hard drive other than the operating system, and then that's it. There wasn't any folders. There wasn't anything of use. So kind of a letdown. I was kind of expecting, or I guess not expecting, I was hoping for more stuff that I could talk about in the future or add to whatever. But it is what it is. A little bit disappointed, but that's life, right? Right. Okay. So back to the paranormal today. I'm going to talk about four things. It's like a hogwash, not a hogwash. It's where you said word that you have a lot of stuff. Anyways, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Four things. Uh, the difference between a classic and a residual haunting. Why some spirits are seen like walking through walls, kind of thing. I'm going to give an example of a hotel that I was reading about. And to go a little bit deeper here, astral traveling while you sleep. And I have a couple of examples about that. So let's get started. It's like I said, it's starting to warm up here, so there's still snow on the ground, but there's a few things that I can take care of. So the first thing I want to discuss about the paranormal is let's get started by what's the difference between a classic and a residual haunting. Now, if you already know, obviously you already know and you have your own opinion on this, but some people might not know. Again, I guess let me get the disclaimer out of the way. What I say is just my opinion, not necessarily the wife either. It's not her opinion, a lot of this stuff. It's just my opinion. So please, please, please do not take this as gospel. It's not, what I say goes. It's not God. Like I said, it's not gospel. It's not the law. It's not anything. It's just my personal opinion over the years that we've been doing this. Or I guess our group's experiences, my personal experiences. So just my opinion and my opinion only. Take it for, however you want. If I'm full of crap, hey, I'm full of crap. I'll be the first to admit. Because paranormal is not an exact science. Everyone has their opinions, but there's no regulating body that says, okay, this is what happens. As far as I know, there's no spirit in a laboratory getting tested on. Tell me what happens, or I'm going to prod you with this cattle prod. As far as I know, that don't happen. So a lot of this is theory. A lot of it is opinions, and it's been taken over the years of paranormal investigations, starting out with Harry Price back in I think he was in the 40s. Then Hans Holzer. I said it right. Hans Holzer. Thank you very much. And so basically, all this stuff is just opinions, ideas. It's not necessarily fact. So please don't take this as fact because it's not. So classic and residual haunting. Well, classic haunting is just that. It's a classic haunting. That is where the spirit will recognize you, or not necessarily recognize you because he might not know who the hell you are, but he will acknowledge you. Let's put it that way. Acknowledge. He will acknowledge your presence in the room. And that could be as something as simple as this. For example, you are doing an investigation and a spirit appears in the corner or something, and he looks at you, and then he will either make a gesture that he acknowledges you that you're there. It might be simple as again, haven't smoked anything yet, but he might smile. The spirit might smile at you. It might possibly wave at you. It might somehow make communication with you. That's a classic haunting. That's basically the spirit is recognizing, I use that word again, not appropriate. He's acknowledging your presence, okay? A residual haunting is just the opposite. Just the opposite. The spirit, it does not acknowledge. I used the right word this time. I learn slowly, but I do learn. The spirit will not acknowledge your presence. And some people put the residual haunting akin to like a VCR tape where if the conditions are just right, environmental, weather, whatever else, timing, anniversary, whatever the case might be, is just right. So something kicks it off, something hits, if you will, the play button on the VCR, if we're making the reference to residual as a tape being played over and over again. And for some reason, it happens. Okay, now I use this as an example. Well, when I do presentations, I use this as an example. Let's say that Ma and Pa Kettle, they raise their family. They have a farm, and every day at 3:30 in the morning, he gets up, gets dressed, walks out his bedroom, down the hallway, down the stairs, opens the front door, and walks out the house to do his chores. And he does this for years and years and years. Now, they do say that some material absorbs energy, and that's why they think Gettysburg is so active, is because I think, if I remember, Devil's Den, I believe, is the stones are, I think, granite or lime. No, it's not limestone. I believe it's granite. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. Well, you can't correct me right now, but correct me an email or something. I believe it's granite, and granite is a conductor of energy, not energy, but it absorbs energy. That's what I've read. So, and maybe in a house, maybe it's the wood, the flooring, maybe the type of wood used. I don't know exactly how that works, but so Ma and Pa Kettle, like I said, raise a family. The kids move away. Ma Kettles passes away. Pa Kettles passes away. None of their kids want the house. So somebody else moves in, and lo and behold, at 3:30 in the morning every day, they get woken up. They hear footsteps coming out of the bedroom, footsteps going down the hallway, down the stairs. They hear the front door opening and closing, and they hear this continuously, continuously. Now they may see Pa Kettle doing his, when he was alive, his daily routine. That's very possible. It's also possible where you're not going to see the spirit of Pa Kettle, but you're still going to hear the footsteps, the front door opening and closing, even though there's nobody making that noise. So that is what a residual haunting is. Now, if you were to see Pa Kettle coming out of his room, coming down the hallway, and if you were to stand in front of Pa Kettle, he would walk right through you because to him, you do not exist. So that is residual haunting. Now, see, this is how you do it. This is what's called a lead in the business, where he did not see you, so he walks through you. So that leads me to my other part of this is how can you see spirits walk through walls, or how can they walk through walls? Very simple. With Pa Kettle walking through you, they didn't exist when they were alive. So when again, not fact, there's no factual stuff here. The theory is that when you pass away, your spirit stays the same age as you were when you passed away. So if you were a kid, even though it's 80 years after you passed away, they still see your spirit as a child because that's what age you were or what you were when you passed away. Okay, that's one. The second one is obviously any afflictions that you had, like say you used a cane, you were blind, you uh, had a bum leg, you had a leg amputated, an arm amputated, whatever the case might be. That's just your physical body. So when you pass away, your spirit does not have the limitations that your body had. So I think you can see this coming. If you needed a wheelchair when you're alive, when you see the spirit after he had passed or she had passed for that matter, I'm not sexist. I'm an equal opportunity for spirits, male or female, either one. He or she will not need that wheelchair after they passed away. And that's why a lot of times when we do, readings, because we do readings, again, me and Brenda are both mediums or sensitives, whatever you want to call it. It's interchangeable. Psychic, medium, sensitive, it's all the same damn thing. I prefer medium myself. So when we do these readings, and a spirit will come to me and I'm talking to the person that, is requesting the reading. I'm like, did he have a bad ankle or did he have a bad knee and the homeowner or whoever it was? Yeah, actually, he had a football injury and he had a very bad limp from that point on. I'm like, he doesn't have that limp anymore. He's fine. He wants me to tell you he's fine. His leg does not hurt no more. He's pain free. So that in a nutshell is what happens when you pass. So keeping with that same theory, so if a person, if the theory is correct and they are still a child or their age when they passed, let's say that somebody comes in. I'll use an example. My old house, we used to have there used to be it used to be a beauty salon back in the 20s. Our house was built in the I think early 20s, the late 20s or 30s. They put in a beauty salon in the front of the house. So when you walked in the house, in the front door off the porch, there would be a set of double doors to your right that went into the actual beauty salon, and then you were in the living room as soon as you walked in the house. Well, Mom took that wall out, so we had one big living room. The actual beauty salon part was not there no more. So using that as an example, if we had a spirit in that old house that was alive when that wall was there, that separated the beauty salon and the living room, to that person, that wall would still be there. So in reverse thinking about this, if you come in and the spirit, I'm sorry, you come in the house, okay, and you're like, you know what, I don't like having a big living room like that. I want to put a wall up. So you build a wall. So you make two smaller rooms instead of one bigger room. Okay, so if that spirit was alive when that wall was not there, he will walk through, he will appear, and I'm using the air quotes, he will appear to walk through that wall because that wall was not there when he was alive. So that's why people, when we've heard of this, people will say, oh, I was sitting watching TV and the spirit of an older woman comes down the stairs and walks through our living room wall. How can she do that? Well, because when she was alive, that wall wasn't there. So that basically takes care of that. And one other thing that I well, let me use this as an example. There was a story that I read over in Rome, and it was a pub. I'm sorry. It was in the UK. It was over in England. It was in a pub. Now, okay, I know what you're all thinking. A pub. There was drinking involved. I'm sure they had a pint or two. I'm sure they did. But the story goes is that the patrons of this pub were in the pub enjoying, the music, the conversation, and of course the pints. And they saw a column of Roman soldiers come out of the wall, like across the hallway and out the other wall. Well, how can they do that? Because either that pub was not there, well, most likely the pub was not there when the Roman soldiers marched through that area. So again, it falls under, if it wasn't there when they were alive, it don't exist to them. So that's why the Roman soldiers appeared to come out of one wall, cross a hallway, and then disappear into the other wall because it wasn't there when they were there. One other thing that we hear about too is, and I'm sure that you've heard about this. This was just on TV a couple weeks, well, actually last week on YouTube. This brand new house, no one's ever lived in it before. A family, had the house built. They moved into a brand new house. Like I said, nobody had lived in the house before. Brand new house, and they're experiencing activity. Well, how can that be? Nobody passed away in the house. Nobody was killed in the house. There was no violent history of the house. Okay, the house itself might not be, but the ground itself, and I use this as an example, not to be funny, but the ground is old as dirt. Who knows? There might have been a house there at one time. The house caught fire. The residents of the house passed away in the fire. The house was cleared. The land was cleared. Somebody bought the land, built a house on that exact same spot. That's how the house is haunted. A brand new house is haunted because of that, because of the history of the land and then what stood there before. So that's how that is very possible. Now, it's also very possible that the reason why is the house might not have been built directly on top of the old house, but maybe close enough where part of the house, where the house stood, that burned, in my example, maybe the new house is built on part of it, and that's why the spirits are there, because they're residing or they're staying in that one part of the house that burned. I'm sorry, that the new house was built on. So that's very possible too. One of the examples that I used, this whole thing is when they were alive, it didn't exist to them. I was reading a story a while back that they said that there was this hotel in New Orleans that was being renovated. It was empty now, but it was being renovated so they could open it back up again. Well, the workers kept on seeing this woman, and they only saw her from the knees on up. And they're like, okay, this is kind of weird. We're seeing this woman almost every day, but we're only seeing her from the knees on up. Why is that? Was she in a wheelchair? Did she not have legs? People didn't know why. Well, it seems to find out that somebody put two and two together, and they found the original floor plans to the house. I'm sorry, to the hotel. So when they were, looking at the old floor plans, they had come to realize that the hotel's floors had been raised about 3 or 4 feet from the original floor plans. So, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this. The woman that they seen only from the knees on up, she was walking on the old floor. Because again, when the floor was raised up to 3 or 4 feet, it, it was raised after she had already passed. So to her, when they raised the floor 3 or 4 feet, it didn't exist to her. She was still walking on the old floor. So that's why they only seen her from the knees on up. So, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, 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 he could be right. But that was one story that I did read about that. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is astral traveling when you sleep. It's been documented, I guess you'd say, that people do, or it is a possibility of them to astral travel while they slept. And one example that I did have is, or read, I guess, is that there was this woman, and she kept on having the exact same dream. She was driving past the house. She would stop in. She would open, for some reason she said she would open up the front door. She wouldn't actually knock on the door. She would just open the front door and walk in the house. And she had the same dream for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And she, it was starting to like, well, why am I having this exact same dream 3 or 4 times? It's the exact same dream. And I don't remember myself ever having the same dream 3 or 4 times in a row. I mean, there's times where I wake up, and I'm sure that you all are the same way. You wake up and it's like you remember parts of the dream, but not the whole dream. Then after like 2 or 3 minutes, you don't remember any of the dream. And but she found it interesting that she was having the same dream 3 times in a row. So she, like I said, it was in the back of her head, nagging her a little bit, like, God, there's something I can't quite picture here, whatever. Well, she was driving, doing errands one day, and she drove past the house that she had seen in her dreams, and she had it like a case of deja vu, which is one thing that I'll touch on here too. So she had a case of deja vu, and not the strip joint, which we have here in town. I'm not talking about deja vu, the strip point or strip place. I'm talking about deja vu as far as you had the feeling of being there before. Big difference, trust me. Big difference between deja vu, the strip joint, and deja vu, what I'm talking about. So I just want to get that straight here to get your minds out of the gutter if you're thinking about that, if you even knew what deja vu was here in town. So she actually did a U-turn. She came back, parked in the driveway, knocked on the front door, and someone opened the front door. The person that opened the front door was the homeowner, and she turned white as a ghost. And this woman that stopped was having this dream. She stopped. She goes, "What? What? Are you okay? What's going on?" And the homeowner goes, we've had activity in the house for 3 straight days. I've seen the apparition of the spirit that we've been hearing in the house. And she goes, God damn, it was you. The homeowner was saying it was you to the woman that stopped by that was having these freaking dreams. The woman was astral traveling in her dream to this house, and she was being seen by the homeowners as an apparition or a spirit, which again, the same thing. So it's possible to astral travel which is out of your physical body. If you don't know what astral traveling is, it's the concept of when you fall asleep, or I guess you know, probably, I was going to say you could probably do it when you're awake too, but I think you're too conscious for that. So I think it's mainly when you're asleep or sleeping, you astral travel out of your physical body, which you know, near death experience, which I don't really have a lot to talk about on that, so I guess I'll touch on that real fast. It's the same principle as an out of body experience, and you've heard about these, or you know, these stories where someone was on the operating table, they passed away, and they were either standing in the room, you know, their spiritual presence was standing in the room, or it was over their actual body on the operating table, and they could hear, you know, what the doctors were saying. They could, you know, see their physical body. That is a type of astral traveling where your spirit has left your body. It's not quite the same because astral traveling, as far as I know, you're not like legally deceased or medically passed away, I guess. Astral travel is when you're basically asleep and for some reason your body will leave, or your spirit will leave your physical body. Near death is when your physical body has passed, or I'm sorry, legally deceased, I guess you would say. Your heart stopped. I guess the word is clinically dead. So you are clinically dead for, you know, however, you know, minutes or whatever, and then they bring you back. So I believe there's a big difference between astral traveling and near death experiences. Yes, you leave your body, your spirit leaves the physical body, but astral traveling, you're just traveling while you're asleep. And when you're near death experiences, you are clinically dead. So I think there's a big difference there. So, yeah, so getting back to the house, and they had seen her. The homeowners had seen this alive woman 3 days in a row, 3 nights in a row in her in the house. So the woman was astral traveling, leaving her body, and for some unknown reason was going to this house. And if that you know, if that's not freaky, and if that doesn't make you think for a second, like, huh, that's kind of weird. I don't know what will. So the other thing that I want to, or one of the other things I want to talk about is deja vu. Again, not the strip place. Big difference. Have you ever? I guess you know. Give me 1 second to go back to the astral traveling. Have Because there's one point that I want to bring up also about that. Have you ever been like, and I myself have, you know, especially when I was in high school. It happened all the time in high school, where study hall or in a class, the you know, teacher's boring as hell. You nod off a little bit, and then you know, you're sleeping, your hands on your, you know, your arms on your desk, your head on your arms, and you jerk awake all of a sudden, or even if you're like sleeping and you jerk awake really fast. From my understanding, that is you are astro traveling, and your spirit came in too fast. And I know what you're thinking. Again, what is this dude smoking? He's like way out here today. I haven't smoked anything yet, but that is your spirit coming back to your body, and it's coming in too fast, and that's why you jerk awake, because your spirit came back into your body too fast. Your body or your spirit didn't have time to slow down or prepare for it, and it just came in way too fast. And that's what happens is you jerk awake. That was your spirit coming in too fast. So let's get back to, I wandered a little bit, deja vu. Have you ever, and I have had this before, have you ever like been someplace and you're like, oh dude, I've been here before. I know I haven't. There's no way that I have been here before, but I know I've been here before. That is deja vu. And deja vu, how I heard it explained to me, is when the man upstairs, and I don't mean your upstairs neighbor, I mean the man upstairs, God, that if you're on his path that he wants you to be on, his intended path for you to be on, he will give you these little signs to say you're in the right path, you're on the right path. Have you ever like met somebody? And again, everything that I'm saying here, I've experienced. I know other people have too. A place you've never been before, and a person that is checking you out, or a employee of that place, he or she looks so familiar to you, and it's like, have we ever met? Have we ever met before? And he or she goes, no, I've never met you before in my life. Well, that is a case of deja vu. That is them, or like I said, the man upstairs saying you are on the correct path where he wants you to go. So I mean, I guess that's kind of comforting that you have these deja vu experiences. So like I said, supposedly you're on the path that he has chosen for you, and congratulations on that. Now, one other thing too I wanted to bring up is we do private, not private, I'm sorry. Our group does public investigations, and we usually go places, like out of state, like, Ohio State Reformatory. We go to, Waverly Hills in Louisville. But around here, we like to go to Bath every year. And not Bath, not take a bath, but go to Bath, Michigan, the school bombing site, and do a public investigation. We also get permission from the police department to do the graveyard in town. So we usually go from the park to the graveyard in town where some of the victims are at, and we do a public investigation. The public is welcome. So this year, the anniversary is May 18th. We are going to Roswell, New Mexico on May 19th, which is the day after the anniversary. We're going to be staying in a hotel in Detroit, so we don't have to leave here early to get to the airport. So we are going to go, as of right now. I haven't asked for permission from the police department, but it hasn't ever been a problem before. So mark your calendars. You'll be on our Facebook page if you are so inclined to check in our Facebook page. Mark the date, May 17th. I'll have the times posted on our Facebook page. It's usually around that time the sun usually sets. Oh God, usually sets about 9:30 ish, maybe. In that area. So we usually start early. I like to give like a little history about Bath. Bath is one of the places because a lot of the places that we've investigated over the years. Well, let me just Waverly Hills. Okay, we know a lot of people have passed. We just don't know who they were or the circumstances that they passed. A lot of it is speculation, a lot of it is urban legend, a lot of it is some crazy story just to make it more scary. Well, in Bath, at the school bombing site, we know exactly what happened. We know what happened, why it happened, to whom it happened, and we know the victims. This to us is a pretty good place to investigate because we know the history, the who's, the what's, the why's, and the where's. So we always get permission first. So that's we've done this for years over in Bath. We've never had a problem getting permission. So I don't anticipate problems now. So I like to do a little history. They have like a little gazebo there. It's just a park now. Okay, it doesn't look like a hell of a lot, but a lot of people were killed there. A lot of emotions are attached to that property, and we've always had activity. We've always had, like feeling like our shirts being pulled, like, hey sir, hey mister. We've seen 3 apparitions there. Not at the same time obviously, but over our visits. So we do plan on going. Like I said, check our Facebook page May 17th, and I'll post a time. Like I said, I usually give a little history about the place. I have some pictures. I'll tell you things that we have found here, and then you're free to either tag along with us because we usually have some of our team with us. You can tag along with them. They can show you the equipment, how to use it, whatever. If you're just starting out, you could go on your own, or you can come with a team member and investigate. Then after usually about an hour or two, maybe about 2 or 3 hours, we go to the graveyard in town. Again, that's where some of the actual victims are buried. A couple years ago, pre-COVID, we had someone, he was scratched in the graveyard on his back. He wasn't on his back, but he got scratched on his back. Uh, they were like red welts that were just starting to form. So that is coming up. That, like I said, May 17th. Mark it on your calendars if you're in the area. Follow our Facebook page. I will keep on reminding you guys on my podcast weekly. So with that, I have to put a few things away today. So I will put this away for today. As always, again, till we meet again, and stay away from the light. Bye bye.